welcome back to this video. This is a continuation of the C# Beginners series. If you are new here, kindly subscribe and click on the notification bell to know when new videos come out. Previously, we had talked about OOP and we looked at the first, which was encapsulation. In this video, we'll be looking at inheritance in C#. I know I had mentioned it when we are talking about access modifiers, when we want to talk about the protected. But here we'll be delving deep into what inheritance in C# is and why we have inheritance in C#. So, using the same example we used for a house, imagine that we have, because in reality we have different types of houses. We have bungalows, we have story buildings, we have skyscrapers. All of them are houses. They are buildings at the end of the day. Now, imagine we wanted to write applications for different houses. So one approach we could do was to create a class for house, and a house for bungalow, a house for skyscraper, a class for duplexes, something like that. But we know that for all of these things, there are things that are common to all of them. There is a common denominator to all these things. For example, all of these houses, we have light, for example. All of them we have maybe a drainage system within them. These are things that all of them have. Within all of them, we'll be able to turn on the light. So that is where inheritance comes in. So inheritance is a fundamental concept in OOP that allows a class, which is known as the child class, it is called the derived class or subclass, to inherit the properties and the behaviors of another class. So following the example I had laid on the ground, we see that if we have a base called house, all of them we have what a house will have. All of them will have a light, and all of them will be able to turn on a light. And what this does is it allows you to be able to reuse code and to be able to model things in real world. So let's just look at an example and see how this goes. So here we have the example we had in the previous video when we talked about encapsulation. But let's say now we wanted to have another, let's say we have the let's say duplex. Now, one approach we could use without using inheritance was that we will say a number of lighting points. For example, this is one approach, and then we could have our public void turn on the light, where we will have console.writeLine again. I should have just copied this, right? So we could have this, and let me just take this off so that it's simpler. So we could have just had a duplex, and then maybe a duplex now has public, it has maybe something called a number of something unique to duplexes, probably a stairs, something like that, because a normal house might not have stairs. So you see, a duplex could have a stair, and then maybe within a duplex you could have something called jump from the top floor, something like that. So let's just, I know this is not realistic, you can't be jumping from the top floor, but of course, let's just say jumping. Let's call it jumping. Now we see that duplex has the basic thing a house also have, but it also has addition to it, has a function called the jump from the top floor, and it also has a property called the number of stairs. Now that is fine, but you see, this means that if we now in future found out that no, the duplexes or all of them, for example, we'll have had duplexes, we will have had maybe story buildings, skyscrapers, all of those types of classes. Imagine we have them, and then I wanted to make a change and say, found out that this is not how the light is supposed to be turned. Probably the light is supposed to be turned in this way. Probably this is the actual implementation. So it means I will go to all of them and I'll have to change it in this way. This is not a proper way of writing code. To be having to, when you want to make one change, to have to change it in a lot of places. That is not a nice way to actually write your code. So how we could do this is actually that we could have this out, we don't need it, and then we use this to, I know you've seen me use this previously when we talk of the protected. So inheritance, what you are saying is that this duplex is inheriting from house. That is, everything that is within house, duplex can use it. And then in addition to what is in the house, these are now the unique things for the duplex. So this means that I could come here and I could say a duplex, and I could say a duplex, and within the duplex I could also say turn on the light. But you see, I didn't have to put the implementation of turn on the light within our duplex. Our duplex did not really have the logic within it. What it just did is it was inheriting from the base class, which is the house. The implementation for that resides within the house. So this is the beauty of inheritance. It helps to actually reduce the burden on a particular class by making or encapsulating some particular functions into a a base class. So for example, if I wanted to have a skyscraper now, and I call the skyscraper, and it also inherits from house, and by default it will have everything a house will have. And let's just say I just wanted to add one property and say name, and just say type of sky, just for, let's just have it like this, and it has this property, for example, and we could say that now that the skyscraper has basically what it has. So if I come down here, I could also say a skyscraper, and you see I could just have my skyscraper, and I could also have turn on the light, and it will turn on the light. But for example, with the duplex, although with the duplex I can say the duplex can jump the top floor, the base class, which is house, I can't come and say jump up the top floor, because that doesn't reside within the house. The house doesn't have the logic for jumping up the house, the top floor rather. It only resides within the duplex. So that is something we should always note. Also, with inheritance, instead of inheriting from house, I could decide that I want to inherit from duplex, for example. So for example, we are saying that a skyscraper basically is just has what a duplex we have, but has something else. Maybe, for example, we say the type of sky, for example. So with this now, it means that the skyscraper can do everything a duplex can do, but in addition to that, it has another additional property called the type of sky. So you see, with this now, I can now come and say my skyscraper, and I can also use jump off the top floor now, because my skyscraper is inheriting from the base class, its base class, which is the duplex. So what this means, for example, I didn't need to come and write turn on the light, I didn't need to come and write function for jump from the top floor, I didn't need to write all of this logic, because I could just inherit from another class all the properties, all the logic that are there. I could just inherit them and make use of them. So this is inheritance in C#, and I hope that this is clear. Of course, you must remember that access modifiers are very important in all of this. For example, if I made this for example private, if this was private, the skyscraper cannot, as you see, it's already, because even outside it, no one can have access to it. So it's important to also know that the access modifiers you use also has its own place in all of this, because that is where encapsulation also, for example, comes in, because you are encapsulating that logic. That logic is not even supposed to be available to anyone else. The only one that should be able to use it, for example, maybe the house, for example. So that is inheritance in C#. I hope that this was clear, and I hope to see us again in the next video where we talk about polymorphism.